Let's go to the Hill and NBC's Ryan Nobles, who's there. Also with us, former U.S. Ambassador to Morocco, Marc Ginsberg. Ryan, Netanyahu's joint address will be delivered to a very fractured Congress right now. What are we expecting this afternoon?
Well, I think you're right, Ana. There's no doubt that his appearance here today is divisive. It's polarizing. There are some members of Congress who strongly support Netanyahu, and the reason behind his invitation here by House Speaker Mike Johnson. But there are many Democrats and even some Republicans, frankly, who feel that this isn't the right time for him to be here, that his political future in Israel is in doubt, and his prosecution of the war is very controversial and shouldn't just be outrightly embraced by the United States government. Regardless, it has led to a very chaotic atmosphere here on Capitol Hill. You're right to point out that security on this campus is at extreme levels. There is fencing up and around the Capitol. There are bike racks that extend even beyond the office buildings. They are limiting who can come in and out of the Capitol to only official business. So that means tourists will be cut off from the building today, and just members of the public that normally have free-flooded access to the Capitol will not have that opportunity today. I am told that in briefings, they have warned the staffs of these different members of Congress that there could be in excess of 10,000 protesters that could make their way to Capitol Hill. But I'm also told that that's a worst-case scenario. And the fact that they have so fortified this campus makes it very unlikely that these protesters would be able to actually get into this building or even get onto the campus in a way that would interrupt the proceedings. Regardless, it just shows how difficult this situation is going to be and how Netanyahu is going to have to really try and appeal to both ends of this political spectrum. There are certainly strong supporters of his that believe that Israel has a right to prosecute this war in any way that they see fit. But there's also a number of members of Congress that want to see a ceasefire happen as soon as possible, and with it, those hostages returning home. So no doubt that Netanyahu is a very tall order ahead of him here in Washington, Ana.
Ambassador Ginsberg, you're en route to Israel. This is the Prime Minister's first overseas trip since October 7th. There's really no ceasefire deal still. Dozens are still being held hostage. So how are Israelis feeling about Netanyahu making this trip to Washington?
Well, they consider this visit on a divorce from reality. Divorce from the reality that he still has failed to produce a hostage agreement with Hamas. Divorce from the reality of politically where he has still not been held accountable for the mistakes that he's made, much less the corruption charges that he's under. That this trip has been orchestrated for strictly one reason, and that is to give him a political lifeline to be able to argue back to the Israelis that he remains the indispensable leader because he received an invitation from Washington. But I assure you that President Biden is far more popular in Israel than Prime Minister Netanyahu. And the fact that even at this point in time, Netanyahu comes to Washington without any plan whatsoever to share with the American people what is going to happen to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, much less who's going to rule Gaza after the hostilities come to an end, and how to deal with the consequences of an extended war with Hezbollah. I mean, he comes empty-handed with a lot of empty rhetoric.
I mean, how difficult of a line is it for Netanyahu to walk right now as he addresses this Congress with diverging opinions on his handling of the war in Gaza and just the political climate in the U.S. right now?
Well, he's basically taken probably one of the most pro-Israel presidents in U.S. history after President Biden got on a plane and flew to Israel to put his arm around the Israeli people and the American and the Israeli Prime Minister. Instead, the Israeli Prime Minister has given nothing but the back of the hand to President Biden, whether it be on Israel's turning its back on Americans' request not to invade Rafah, to the use of munitions that it shouldn't be using to target Israeli Palestinians, and to the interference with humanitarian aid, and the list goes on and on. So there's no reason why Mr. Netanyahu should receive anything but a perfunctory welcome from a president who has been more than pro-Israel. And then you have at the same time enormous outburst of anti-Semitism in the United States. That is a problem that, unfortunately, he's not going to address.